This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, Parshas Beshalach. We all know the prominent feature of Beshalach is Kriyas Yamsuf. And we will begin with the question that Reb Chaim Volozhiner asked the Vilna Goan. We know Chazal tell us that Hashem made a stipulation with the Yamsuf, that when Hashem created the water on the 6 days of creation, Hashem stipulated with it that it would have to split at the time of Kriyas Yamsuf. So Reb Chaim Volozhiner wanted to know, where is this alluded to in the Chumash? And the Gra responded the following. The Gra said, if you look in Bereshis, the pasuk says, "Yikavu hamayim al makom echad," let the water gather to one place. "V'seira'eh hayabasha," and let the dry land appear. So the Vilna Goan said, what do you mean? If all the water is gathering to one place, then obviously the dry land is going to appear. I mean, if you have water everywhere, and the water is going to gather to one place, so wherever the water isn't, what do you have? Dry land. So why would the Chumash have to say, V'seirah hayabasha? Obviously the dry land will appear. Says the Gra, V'seirah hayabasha is not the dry land will appear where the water is not. It's the dry land that will appear one day where the water is. That's a remez to this inyan that Hashem made a tanai with the water that when Bnei Yisrael get to the water will split for Klal Yisrael.
Make it tonight? Why? He's the big boss. Why does he have to make it tonight?
In other words, that's how he programmed it. Instead of making the water, and then at the time Hashem says, split, and the Yam says, no, I'm not going to split. Hashem split. Hashem already pre-programmed it. It's already in the Bria. It's already in creation.
What about the yard they put the Yeshua?
Was it pre-programmed? Sure.
You're saying this is programmed. That was pre-programmed.
This is. We'll have to talk about that. Now I'm going to tell you. A very interesting story, and about the Vilna Goan. Now this story is found in Likutei Hagra on Pesach, but it's not found in its full glory there. It's actually in its original form in a commentary on Tehillim. And I've seen this story printed in Likutei Hagra. If anybody wants to know, it's on page Reish Ayin Gimel. But Professor Lyman actually found this story in a very rare commentary on Tehillim. I'll tell you the story. It's a very interesting story. I actually I called him today to tell him that it's printed now in Likutei Hagra. I didn't get through.
You didn't get the call.
No, I called, but he wasn't available. Okay. But anyway, the story goes like this. In Russia, the queen found a precious jewel. And she was very happy that she found this rare stone. The problem was they had no idea what it was. What's the nature of the stone? What type of stone was it? And they decided they're going to send a message and the stone to Germany, to Ashkenaz, where they were known for their scientific prowess and their acumen in the fields of geomology. And they sent the stone there with the message, please tell us what this is, because our Chachamim in Russia, we have absolutely no idea what it is. Okay, fine.
This was Catherine the Great?
I don't know. This was in the late 1700s. Okay? So they send it to Germany. They're clueless. The German scientists have absolutely no idea what this is. So they have no choice. They're going to send the stone back to Russia. But before they send it back to Russia, they figure, let's try one more guy. They're going to send it to Moses Mendelsohn, who was well known among the German scholars as somebody proficient with the Talmud. Obviously, the Hasidim do not look fondly upon Moses Mendelsohn. In fact, it's reported that when Moses Mendelsohn died, the Kedushas Levi, who was known to find something good about anybody, he looked out the window and he said, Rabbi Say, I want you to know, how long is Mendelsohn going to be in Gehenna? Not less than a yovel. So the people said, that's it? So they said, what? Well, let me tell you, a yovel is 50 years. And a year is 365 days. And a day for Hashem is 1,000 years. So that's how long he's going to... Anyway, so they send a message to Moses Mendelsohn, what's the stone? He's thinking, contemplating. He has no idea what the stone is. but he thinks now's his time, now's his chance. He's going to catch the Vilna Goan. So he says, you know, there's a very smart Jew who claims to know everything. Why don't you send the stone to him? He'll tell you what the stone is. His plan was to undermine the Vilna Goan, embarrass the Goan. So they send the stone to the Goan. You know, the Goan was learning even during the day with the shutters closed. He's sitting there with the Gemara. They knock on the door. He doesn't even hear it. You know, the door is open, and he's sitting there in front of the Gemara. He doesn't pay attention. Finally, they disturb him. What's the stone? He looks at it. He puts it down on the table. They don't know what to do. He doesn't say anything. They walk out. And meanwhile, some kid comes in and is playing with the stone. And the Goan has a cup of water on the table. And the kid throws the stone into the water. And the water split. Half the water was on one side of the cup. Half the water is on the other side of the cup. So the Goan, when he finishes learning, he looks at the water. He doesn't notice at first. He's looking for the stone. Where's the stone? Oh no, he's going to be in big trouble if he doesn't return that stone. They're going to accuse him of stealing it. Then he sees the cup, the water split. Min hashamayim, they were megala to the Gra what the stone was. The name of the stone is Sanperinan. The Medrash says the Sanperinan stone is able to split water. Naturally. It has some kind of physical component through magnetic fields, it splits water. So the Gra, they come back, the emissaries from the German scientists come back. He says, this is a Sanperinan stone, it has this and this property. They're nishtoimin, they can't believe the Gra knew what it was. When Mendelsohn found out that the Gra got it, he's pulling his hair out. He's so berug, he's so upset. So he says, that's it. Kriyas Yamsuf wasn't a miracle. Because Kriyas Yamsuf was done with the stick of Moshe.
Sanperinan.
And the Medrash says Moshe's stick was made out of Sanperinan. So Muslims say, you see, the whole thing, it's all, it wasn't supernatural, it wasn't miraculous, it was b'derech hateva. So the Gra says, you happy kairas, you have to look at the psukim. The pasuk says, Hashem says to Moshe, Harei mesmatecha, raise up your stick. Raise it up, but don't make sure it doesn't touch the water. That's why the Torah says by Kriyas Yamsuf, Harei mesmatecha. Harei means move it away, so that everyone should see this as a nace, and it's not a natural. And Mendelsohn was not happy with that response, but this is the Maisa that appears in some commentary on Sefer Tehillim, and it's recorded partially in the Sefer Likutei Hagra on page Reish Ayin Gimel.
Do we know what today the Sanperinan stone is?
Probably not.
I mean, it isn't that long ago, such a stone that has that kind of property.
It's probably in the vault someplace in Russia.
I don't know.
It's not that it one stone.
Is there any other reference to this stone anywhere else?
The Medrash, the Medrash says that the Moshe's stick was made out of Sanperinan. Yeah. Okay, Rabbi said, I want to show you something else. Look at number 5. Okay, a chiddush, very big chiddush. Vayar Yisrael Sayar Hagdoila. Yisrael saw the great hand. So the Zayar comments, doesn't say Vayar B'nei Yisrael, Vayar Yisrael. Ad Perish B'Zayar Yisrael Saba refers to Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu saw Kriyas Yamsuf. Vasepis Yaakov Avinu and Avram and Yitzchak, they didn't make it that day. In fact, the Chassam Sofer asks, if you look in those who say Tehillim, in Parak Ayin Ches, there's a pasuk, Neged Avoisam Asa Pele. God performed miracles in the presence of all the Avos. So why are we picking on Yaakov Avinu? Vikasha, says the Chassam Sofer in the Drashas Chassam Sofer for Pesach, page 542. Says the Chassam Sofer, why does the Zayar specify Yaakov more than the other Avos, Haksiv and Tehillim, Neged Avoisam Asapel? V'yesh loymar. You can answer the following. If you look in the Sefer Masei Roikeach, some Sefer says, Al Pimasha Kasav the Sefer Masei Roikeach, the Mesachas Psachim. If you look in the Mishnayos, in the back of Psachim, you have something called Masei Roikeach. How many hours are in the Yom Tov of Pesach? Well, Midairaisa, you have how many days?
168.
Right. 168 hours. 7 times 24 is 168. But already the Yisro Chamed starts Chatzos on Erev Pesach. That's another 6 hours, 174. Plus the Chachamim added on 1 more hour, from 11 to 12.
175.
175 hours in Pesach of Isser Chametz.
That's Yaakov's age. Avram's age.
Right? If you look in the Torah, we have 3 Yom Tovim. Shavuos is Keneged Yitzchak. Sukkot is Keneged Yaakov. Pesach is Keneged Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu lived 175 years. Pesach has 175 hours.
So the others don't match up on hours, right?
No.
Just the way Avram.
Just be happy with one. That's that's pretty good.
All right.
Yeah? So how old was Avraham when Yitzchak was born?
100.
100. How old was Yitzchak when Yaakov was born? 60. So in what year of Abraham's life was Yaakov born? Hour 160. Let's figure out what hour of Pesach was Kriyas Yamsuf. It was on the 7th day.
It was on 160th hour.
Or the 7th day. Be'ashmoyres haboiker.
Right.
In other words, 3 hours in the last watch of the morning. In other words, the last watch before the morning. 3 hours before 6 a.m. It was 3 a.m. 3 a.m. is what hour of Pesach? Hour 160, the hour Yaakov Avinu was born. So that's what the Zayar means. Why did Hashem show Yaakov Avinu Kriyas Yamsuf? Because Kriyas Yamsuf, which was Chesed and Rachamim, was in the Zechus of the birth of Yaakov Avinu that occurred at that moment. Very interesting. Some Sefer says, V'yesh loimer, Al pi ma shekasa b'sefer Maaseh Rokeach. It's brought down in the same Maaseh Rokeach b'Mesechus Pesachim mechatzois erev Pesach, from midday erev Pesach. Zman bir chametz, the time of the destruction of the chametz, ad soif zayin yamim, till the end of 7 days. B'shah achas oisifu chazal kodim, chatzos chazal added 1 hour. Yesh kuf ayin hei shois, you have 175 hours. Neged shenoisav shel Avraham Avinu alav Hashem. Says the Chasam Sofer, v'nirali shenivka hayam, the sea split, v'nitbu Mitzrayim, the Mitzrim drowned, v'noishu Yisrael, Klal Yisrael was saved, be'ashmoyres haboiker, in the morning, shel Yom Zayin shel Pesach, of the 7th day of Pesach, she'az hu kuf samach shois, which was hour number 160, right? Shay Avraham ben kuf samach, when Avraham was 160, nolad Yaakov. It was a chus leidasai shel Yaakov. It was the merit of the birth of Yaakov. Shehu midas harachamim, which is a character trait of mercy. Noishu Yisrael, Klal Yisrael was saved. Al King Siv. That's why it's written Bayar Yisrael Saba Es Hayad. That is why Yaakov Avinu specifically was shown Kriyas Yamsuf. I would like to suggest a new reason why specifically Yaakov Avinu was shown Kriyas Yamsuf. And that is based on something we learned this morning in Masechta Makos. That when you bring Bikurim, what do you say? Arami Oibiravi. You talk about Laban. Fine, you talk about Laban. Beautiful. The night of Pesach, who do you talk about? Arami Oibiravi. Laban. Could someone tell me?
Arami worked for Yaakov.
Arami Oived. He tried to destroy. Right? Laban Bikesh, Lakar Sakol, right? Aye, with an aleph. Yeah? I have a question for you. Could someone tell me what in the world are we doing the night of Pesach talking about Laban? We have nothing better to talk about? We don't have enough Divrei Torah to say we have to talk about Laban?
We're talking about Laban, we're talking about our history.
Who cares?
We were talking about HaKadosh Baruch Hu saving Bnei Yisrael.
From Mitzrayim.
Man, that was a big nace that he saved from us.
That's the time.
Yes.
Why?
Know our history. We came from...
So talk about Bereshis Bara Lekim. I mean, you're talking about Yitzias Mitzrayim.
That's the point. We're talking about the history, how Yisrael started, not how the world was.
Do you talk about Yoshua going into Eretz Yisrael? Do you talk about the history? We're talking about Klal Yisrael leaving Mitzrayim. What does Laban have to do? Who cares? Laban wanted to destroy. He chased after Yaakov. What does that have to do with anything? So what? He's worse than Parshas. So if he's worse than Paroi, then we shouldn't talk about it at all, because that's undermining Yitzias Mitzrayim.
It shows what we went through and how we developed into
but there's no Indian of talking about the history of Klal Yisrael.
That what happened to us with Laban was on the level of Yitzias Mitzrayim.
But if it's so, then what are we talking about the night of Mitzrayim for?
What would you talk about on the night?
I would talk about leaving Mitzrayim, which is the mitzvah. Why do we talk about Laban?
We do.
Says the Gra. Listen. Says the Vilna Goan. We have a concept. Maaseh avos, siman Laban. Whatever our forefathers did was a pre-enactment and the paradigm to what happened to us later. Klal Yisrael going down to Mitzrayim, right? We all went down to Mitzrayim. And when we were in Mitzrayim, Mitzrayim was struck by the mateh of Moshe Rabbeinu. Yeah? We ran away for how many days? 3 days. They caught us on which day? The 7th day. And we left with all the cash. Right? Cashing in at this, right? We left with the cash. Which one of our avos did the exact same thing? Where he caused someone to lose everything with his stick. He ran away for 3 days. He was caught on the 7th day, and he cashed in on the other person's wealth. Yaakov and Laban. Yitzia, and in the end, Yaakov Avinu goes through the Yam. Kibimakli. Avartias hayardin hazeh. Says the Vilna Goan, what created going down to Mitzrayim? The Makos with the Mata, running out of Mitzrayim for 3 days, and them catching us on the 7th day, and ultimately leaving with all the wealth. What created that was the interaction between Yaakov Avinu and Laban. Laban tries to destroy Yaakov, the Mitzrim try to destroy Klal Yisrael. Yaakov uses his stick to take all the wealth and to destroy Laban. Moshe Rabbeinu uses his stick to destroy Mitzrayim. Yaakov runs away. Yaakov Avinu peels the stick, and through peeling the stick, he gets the speckled, the spotted, the striped, the polka dotted, right? Says the Vilna Goan, look at number 2. Yaakov the Lavan.
Stick, by the way, was the stick that Yaakov used the same stick that Moshe used?
No, I think he had a few.
I don't know.
We have to say that.
Possibly. I don't know. I don't remember. Yaakov and Lavan, Dugmas Yisrael ben Mitzrayim. Yaakov says the Gra. Yaakov and Lavan were the paradigm of Klal Yisrael ben Mitzrayim. Chumash Amru, Maaseh avos siman Labanim. What happened? Galus Yaakov. Yaakov was exiled. V'achar kach lakach es kol rechushay. Yaakov was exiled, and then he took all of Laban's money. Chumash Kasav. Hinei ra'isi kaser shel Laban. Yaakov took everything that belonged to Laban. Similarly, v'chein ma'yinatzlas Mitzrayim. And with the stick, Lavan was struck down. Dugmas matem Mitzrayim. And just like Yaakov ran for his life, Yaakov came to Mitzrayim. Sha'amru derech. Like the Zayar tells us, skip a line. And Yaakov ran away for 3 days. So to Klal Yisrael ran 3 days. V'chein derech shloshos yamim. V'yugad l'Lavan b'yom hashlishi. V'chein hi v'yisigu b'yom hashvi. Laban caught up to him on the 7th day, like it says in this week's Parsha. The entire episode, says the Gra, of Yaakov and Laban is the paradigm to Yitzias Mitzrayim and the Kriyas Yamsuf. Therefore, when you talk about the mitzvah of Sipur Yitzias Mitzrayim, what do you have to talk about? Arami Ovid Avi. Because this is not just like the background, this is the creation of Yitzias Mitzrayim. V'darish me'arami Ovid. V'chein laka b'mamayna. That's why he was struck with his money. Yaakov.
I mean, we learned this.
By the way, the Gra says an interesting thing. Lakar es ha-koil. Not ba-koil, not mi-koil. Koil. Who's koil? Yaakov Avinu. Right? So therefore what we'd like to suggest is, when it came to Kriyas Yamsuf, Hashem schleps in Yaakov Avinu, Yaakov, look what you did. Look what you did. So that's possibly another reason why it says Vayar Yisrael Asayar Agdala, specifically Yaakov Avinu, because he was the one of the avos that set into motion the historical pre-enactment of this event. Okay, let us move on. There's a very interesting medrash that says the following. The medrash says, on the words Hayam Ra'av Ayanas, the sea saw and it fled. So there's a medrash pliya, and the medrash pliya says, Ma Ra, what did the sea see? Yeah, what did the sea see? Braisa de Rabbi Shmuel Ra. It saw the Braisa of Rabbi Shmuel. So, It saw the Braisa of Rabbi Shmuel, and that's why it fled. I mean, that's why the sea split, because it saw the Brayis of Rabbi Shmuel. This is brought down in number 6 in the Sefer Kehilas Yitzchak, Parshas Beshalach. One of the things that are mentioned in the Brayis of Rabbi Shmuel we learned about this morning, Kal v'chomer. So the Kehilas Yitzchak quotes from the Abbezdin of Slutsk. He says like this. It says, Hayam ra vayanos. The sea saw and it fled. Hayardein yisav liachar.
Rabbi, one fellow read, Hayam ra vayanos hayardein.
But how do you read it? Hayam ra lashon avar. Hayardein yisav liachar lashon asid. Yisov, willfully. Why? It should say Hayardein nosav la'achar lashon avar also. So the Kehilas Yitzchak brings down. The pasuk says like this: what did the sea see? Hayom Rav Ayanos. You know what the sea saw? He saw Hayardein Yisov, that in the future the Yarden would split for who? Yeshua. So the Yam made a kal v'chomer. If the Yarden is going to split for the Talmud, certainly the Yam has to split for the Rebbe. So he made a kal v'chomer. That's the meaning of the Medrash, that when the sea saw the Brais of Rabbi Shmuel, what does it say in the Brais of Rabbi Shmuel that we read every morning? Kal v'chomer. So he saw the Indian of kal v'chomer. That's why was it Hayam Ra Vayanos? Because in the future Hayarden Yisav La'achar.
But what about the idea that Hashem created the Yam Suf with the
Tanai
program that he was going to do it?
Yeah, but
it had no choice in the matter.
But we find that the Yarden, the Yam was resistant. It was resistant. There's another medrash.
We talked about the Shiur when we talked about how they were created. I remember that it didn't want to do it.
It didn't want to do it. There's another medrash that says, what did it see? It saw Arayna Shel Yosef, the coffin of Yosef. Yeah. And that's why it split, because it saw the coffin of Yosef. Yeah. So, some say like this. This is brought down in the Sefer Hadrash V'Yo'ion, Rav Aaron Levine. He brings down in his second explanation, very interestingly, that you know why the sea didn't want to split? The sea didn't want to split because it said, I was created on which day? The third day, the sea. You, Moshe Rabbeinu, you're created on 6th day. I should serve you? I'm older than you. I'm older than you. But when the sea saw the Arayna Shel Yosef, who's the youngest of the brothers, and they were subservient to him, so the sea got the message, it's not always oldest comes first. Okay, but I would like to suggest, and I probably heard this before from someone else, I don't remember who, very simply, that the Yam said, I should split. I am commanded by God to fulfill my mission, which is nature. Naturally, I'm not going to split. It's against my nature. But when he saw the coffin of Yosef HaTzadik, who was able to go against his nature and resist his temptation under the most difficult circumstance. So the Yam said, if a human being of flesh and blood was able to go against his teva, so then I need to do likewise. Okay, let's take a look.
But didn't we say that the Yam split derech hateva because
last year we learned from the Ksav. The Sanperinan. No, that's what we're saying. We said, no, just...
but Moshe...
Okay. Take a look at number 10. Something very interesting. What day of Pesach did Klal Yisrael come to the Yam? The 7th day. If you look at the last Rashi in Parsha Shlach, Rashi says the following. Why do we have 8 strings on our tzitzis, right? Count your strings. You have 8 strings in the tzitzis. Why do we have 8 strings? Rashi says, Keneged the 8 days till Kriyas Yamsuf. And all the first said, what's Rashi talking about? 8 days to Kriyas Yamsuf? Kriyas Yamsuf was on the 7th day. And Tzitzis, in this week's Parsha, asks on Rashi, then what's Rashi talking about? That the 8 strings of Tzitzis are Keneged the 8 days that Klal Yisrael waited till Kriyas Yamsuf. What did it say? Kriyas Yamsuf was on the 7th day. So Tosfos says, no, you're going to count from when they started preparing to leave, which was Erev Pesach, when they brought the Karban Pesach. But we see, Rabbi say, there is some connection between the mitzvah of Tzitzis and Kriyas Yamsuf. After all, why do we have 8 strings of Tzitzis? Rashi says, Keneged, Kriyas Yamsuf, that happened on the 8th day. By the way, Rabbi said there's another connection between Tzitzis and Kriyas Yamsuf. Look at number 11. Taisus brings down. It says, V'hamayim lohem chayma, right? Mimina, right? Chayma is spelled without a vav. It's chema. Taisus points out, chema chasar ksiv, chayma chasar ksiv, v'fi shebetchila nisma alayim chema alayim. The sea was angry, at Shabbat Gavriel, till Gavriel came v'samam kechayma b'saychem, and he made it like a wall. V'hayamachros alayam. He would call out to the wall. V'aymer lamayim shabiminam. He said to the water on the right side, watch out! Klal Yisrael will receive the Torah from the right hand of God, like it says, Mimina yesh das lamai. Then he turns to the water on the left side. He said, be careful, they're going to put tefillin on their left arm. He calls out to the water behind them, be careful with Klal Yisrael, they are going to put on tzitzis me'achareihem. And the Yam listened, and they formed walls. And they formed actually 12 walls, and Klal Yisrael was able to see out through the windows from one wall.
Talked about on the left and the right and the back.
Well, there's no wall.
About in front of them.
Right, before there was no wall.
There's no wall in back of them either. They went through the... So
Taisus points out that from here we learn that when you're misateis b'tzitzis, you ever wonder why do you flick your tzitzis behind you like slap the guy behind you?
Right.
Well, what's the Indian of that? It comes from this medrash. The waters behind Klal Yisrael wanted to crash down on them, and Hashem said, the Malach said, no, Klal Yisrael is going to be misateif me'achareihem. So here's the source. Taisus says that when you're misateif b'tzitzis, to flip it behind you. Then Taisus said, no, you don't have to do that. Taisus says, yeah, only at the time of the Atif. In other words, you don't have to keep it that way the whole time, only at the time of the Atifa. So what we're learning is there's some kind of connection between the mitzvah of Tzitzis and Kriyas Yamsuf. Well, what's the connection? We have 8 strings connected the 8 days of Kriyas Yamsuf, and we throw the Tzitzis behind us like the water that stood still for Klal Yisrael.
So 4 strings that are coupled. It's not 8 strings.
Right, that's true. So Rabbi Sai, perhaps we could suggest the following. I believe I once heard this also. And that is if you look in Shulchan Aruch and Siman Chaf Daled, it's really based on the Gemara Menachos. It says, Hazoher b'mitzvah tzitzis, someone who's careful with the mitzvah of tzitzis, Zoicha v'roya pnei shchina. He will merit to behold the divine countenance. He will merit to see the face of Hashem in Olam Haba. Very unique reward for the mitzvah of tzitzis. Zoicha v'roya pnei shchina. Look in Shulchan Aruch, Archaim, Siman Chaf Daled, Sifav. We find the same exact concept by Kriyas Yamsuf, where Klal Yisrael said, Zeh keli v'yanveu elokei avi v'arei memenu. So Rashi points out, God revealed in all of His glory, they were able to point to Hashem, and they said, and from here Chazal derive Ra Shivcha Alayam Asher Loi Ra Yecheskel Ben Buzi. Even a maidservant beheld God in a greater way than Yecheskel. By the way, the Gra says, how do you see anything from this pasuk that a Shivcha, a maidservant, saw God? So the Gra says, beautiful. It says, Zeh keli v'yanveu elokei avi v'arei mimenu. Who said elokei avi? Jews who had Jewish fathers. So then why did anyone have to add, Zeh keli v'yanveu, this is my God? Wasn't it enough that every Jew said, elokei avi? This is the God of my father? The teretz is, not everyone there was able to say, elokei avi. Because not everyone there had a Jewish father. Who didn't? The Shivcha. Maybe the Arab didn't experience this. But that's how Chazal derived Ra Shivcha Layam. So in other words, the mitzvah of tzitzis, the reward for it is a similar type of experience that Klal Yisrael experienced at Kriyas Yamsuf, which is to be zocha, to see Pnei Hashchina. Okay, one last part on the Parsha. And that is, there are 2 psukim. Let's go back to number 3. Actually, we'll do the one from number 4. We have 2 psukim. One pasuk says, Vayavayu b'nei Yisrael b'soich hayam vayavasha. And one pasuk says, Vayavoyu b'nei Yisrael bayavasha b'soich hayam. Interesting. One pasuk says b'soich hayam bayavasha. One pasuk says bayavasha b'soich hayam. The first time it says it, it's v'hamayim lohem chayma. It's spelled with a vav. The second time it says v'hamayim lohem chayma, spelled without a vav. With which Chazal darshan al tikri chayma elachema. The yam was getting angry, it wanted to crash down, and Hashem had to hold it up. So why is that chema only darshan the second time and not the first time? Why is it the first time it says chayma, it's with a vav, and the second time it says chayma, it's without a vav? So the Gra said the following. Chazal tell us in a medrash in Shemais Rabbah, Parsha Chav Daled Aleph, that Pesel Micha, the Avodah Zarah of Micha that Klal Yisrael made in later on in the times of the Shoftim, was actually being carried into the Yam Suf. You heard such a thing? Pesel Micha was being carried into the Yam Suf. So the Gra asks, and it's a pasuk in Zechariah. It says, "Ve'avar bayam tzara." Into the Yam went this Avodah Zarah. So the Gra asks, what? They brought Pesel Micha into the Yam Suf? That doesn't make any sense. By the way, the Baal Turim brings down the same thing. Ve'avar bayam tzara is Seifei Tevois Rama, which is Gematria Pesel Micha. So the Gra says, what? They were leaving Mitzrayim, they're schlepping out Avodah Zarah with them? So the Gra says, no, of course not. What it means is the thoughts of Avodah Zarah, they schlepped out with them. And later on when they performed it, God was mitzaref the thought to the Maisa. Now who was thinking about Avodah Zarah? The regular Jews? No. It's the stragglers, the guys in the back. Who made Pesel Micha? Shevet Dan. They were walking behind Klal Yisrael. So says the Gra like this. Klal Yisrael is headed into the Yam. They're B'soich Hayam Bayabasha. You know what that means? The front part of Klal Yisrael is B'soich Hayam. The Shevet Dan hasn't gotten into the Yam yet. They're behind. They're Bayabasha. So the water is not angry. So for anyone who's in the water right now is kosher v'yashar. V'hamayim lahem chayma with a vav. The Yam is not angry because Shevet Dan is not in there yet. But then later on it's bayabasha b'soich hayam. The front part of Klal Yisrael is ready out on the dry land. The back part is b'soich hayam. The Shevet Dan is b'soich hayam. For them, v'hamayim lahem chema. For them, the Yam got angry at them, and Hashem had to hold it up. That's how the Vilna Goan explains it. Rabbi say, have a wonderful shot.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.